Market activity is expected to return to full speed today as the U.S. returns after being on holiday on Monday. The local index is trading in positive territory while the rand remains under pressure in midday trade. Investors will also be dissecting data from Stats SA, which shows that South Africa's economy expanded by 1.2% in Q2 of 2021. Michael Treherne, Portfolio Manager of Vestact, joins us now to talk through these and other leading business stories. Michael, great to speak to you. The rand is under pressure in midday trade. What is driving that sentiment?
Afternoon, Hugo. It seems to be a dollar story more than a rand story at the moment. If we have a look at the dollar versus the euro and the dollar versus the pound, the rand or those currencies are also weaker against the dollar. It is worth noting that the US was on holiday yesterday for Labor Day, so things were rather quiet. But it seems that investors have woken up now and they're digesting news coming out this morning. A big focus will be on what's happening with the dollar in terms of future printing of money from the Fed. And it looks like the market's taking the view that the Fed's going to be rather tame in terms of printing money.
Now, according to Stats SA, South Africa's economy expanded by 1.2% in Q2 2021. What is your immediate reaction to these numbers? Lower than expected?
So Bloomberg estimated that we're only going to grow at about 0.9 or 1%. So this would be a beat on Bloomberg's estimate. So that's good news. I think the first thing to note is that these numbers take us back to 2017. So the end of 2017 is the equivalent to the economy size today, and it shows you how heavily we were impacted by COVID. Compared to last year this time, we're up 19.3%. So it shows that we have had a fairly strong recovery, but we're still a few years behind where we should be, which is very unfortunate because low growth means low employment, and that's what we've been seeing in the employment statistics.
So by sector has been pretty different. Any surprises in sectors contributing the highest growth and largest decrease?
So transport and communication was the biggest contributor. That grew 6.9% in the quarter. Agriculture also grew at 6.2%, and that's not to be unexpected. We've seen those sectors looking strong over the last year. Unfortunately, on the downside, we've got construction down 1.4% and manufacturing down 0.8%. The reason that that's unfortunate is these are very labor-intensive industries. So to see them going backwards generally is a bad thing for employment.
Now, foreign exchange reserves in South Africa increased to an all-time high of 58.41 billion United States dollars in August of 2021, up from 54.46 billion US in the previous month. Now, talk us through this data and the reasons behind the increase.
So this data has been fairly consistent if you look at it over the last year. In the last month, we've seen that big jump from 54 billion to 58 billion. The biggest driver of that would be loans that we've received from, I think it's the IMF or the World Bank, one of the two. And that was part of the emergency program that they made available to all their members, with particular focus on giving access to money for vaccines and COVID relief measures. So the reason our reserves has increased is because that money's already been released and we haven't spent it yet. So that's where the big jump comes in.
Now, final thoughts around the Competition Commission, which has released its latest essential food pricing monitoring report focused on tracking the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and the corresponding economic crisis on food markets. Talk us through some of the key findings of this report.
I think it's no surprise if you're a consumer, you would have seen that food prices have increased quite significantly over the last year, and that's a function of supply and demand. One of the things that the Competition Commission notes is that the difference between what farmers are being paid and what we're being paid, what we as retailers pay in the shops is growing, and that's a concern for them. One of the things that pointed out is that the number of dairy farmers over the last 13 years has decreased from 3,900 to 1,050. And that's a concern for them because fewer dairy farmers means less competition. It also means potential issues in the supply chain. So it's the overall report seems to be focusing on what does the supply chain look like and how do we strengthen the supply chain to improve prices for consumers, but also improve the strength of the supply chain.
Michael Treherne, Vestact Portfolio Manager, thank you for your time this afternoon.